Hi everybody, Paisley Imperfect here, and today we're going to talk about music. Something that you may not know about me, I call my friends, my family, my village, I just call them my people. And it's not that I consider myself their leader or something ridiculous like that. They're just my people. They're the people that I choose to surround myself with, and so they become mine. They're my people. Um, anyway, one of my people suggested that I do an episode on music. So here we are. I have had some very positive experiences and some very spiritual experiences with music, and I'm going to share a couple of those today. But first, I want to tell you about a web page that I found on the church's website, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on the website. And I'll make sure that I copy it or that I paste a link in the video description, because I was going to read the URL, but it's like Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints /music/resources/music-quotes or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of long. So I'll make sure that it's linked so you don't have to write all of that down. There are quotes and scriptures listed there all about music and the importance of music. If you go there, you can type in the power of music or the importance of music, and a whole bunch of talks will come up talking about music and how powerful it is in our lives. For example, President Reuben J. Clark Jr. I pulled this quote. All of the quotes that I'm going to use today, I pulled from the music quotes page. And this one was President Reuben Clark, or Reuben J. Clark Jr. He said, I'll make sure that it's correct when I post it on Instagram, but he said, "We get nearer to the Lord through music than perhaps through any other thing except prayer." If you remember, I remember from my seminary teaching days, the song of the righteous is a prayer unto me. It's in the Doctrine and Covenants. And actually, both of those are a really good opening to my first memorable experience with music and how it changed my life. So I was a teenager and my family was falling apart. I am the oldest of 4 kids, and at the time I was the only one of the kids who really had a good idea of what was going on, what was happening. And before I keep going, I need to be clear about something. As I've gotten older, I've realized how difficult it is to be a grown-up and a parent. I don't think that excuses our behavior, and forgiveness is definitely an active and an ongoing thing for me. But I tell you that because the story is very personal, both for me and for my parents, and I'm sharing it without their permission. Not because I don't necessarily think I could get it, but because it's an important story for me. It's important for my own life. It shaped me and helped me to become who I am. So all of that being said, it seemed like my family was falling apart. At the time, I was 14 or 15, and I found out that there was a word of wisdom problem that was affecting my family. I had been taught since the day I was born. I was born and raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I had been taught since the day I was born that breaking the word of wisdom was not okay. If you don't know what the word of wisdom is, you can do a quick search and you'll find out pretty quick. I would recommend that you go to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints website to do that search, because there's a lot of misinformation if you don't. Anyway, I had been taught, we don't drink coffee. We didn't even drink herbal tea. We were pretty strict word of wisdom followers. And so to find out that there was a problem in my home was difficult. Something that you've been taught since the day you were born, and now you're a teenager, in the middle of being a teenager, and you find out that there's a problem. But there we were. My parents' marriage was hanging by a thread. Again, 14 or 15. I was an awkward teenager. We lived kind of far from everybody in our ward and everybody at school. I don't really know how to explain that other than we were living in the middle of a military base and nobody else lived close by. Everybody else was off of the military base. It took us about a half an hour to get to church every Sunday, which is not that big of a deal. unless you live in Utah and it's right down the street. Anyway, we lived far away from everybody, so I didn't really have any friends. I was very rarely invited to things, and usually I was only invited because some teenager's parent encouraged them to invite me. Why don't you invite Abby along, see if she wants to come? It's fine. That's what we're supposed to do. And so they would invite me along. And plus, well, my face. We've talked about this too many times, probably, and I'll probably keep talking about it. But I am blessed with a resting grump face, and nobody really wants to hang out with somebody who seems to be grumpy all the time, especially not when you're a teenager and you're already grumpy enough on your own, right? So here I was in sacrament meeting one day, and all of these things came crashing in on me. No friends at school, no friends at church. My siblings don't know what's going on at home. My mom and dad are fighting all the time. And as the oldest, it felt like my responsibility to make sure that the other three had the things I thought they were missing, which I now know is not my job, but that's not what this is about. Plenty of other grown-ups in my ward knew by now what was going on between my parents, but none of them were talking to me about it either. They were encouraging their kids to reach out to me without any context, so I became the service project. Everything just felt like a giant mess, and I was crying myself to sleep every night, almost every night, because it was the only way I could get to sleep, and I didn't have any other way to release any of my emotion. So now at this point in my life, I am presented with the opportunity to justifiably rebel. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. I had plenty of reason and plenty of excuses and the perfect opportunity. So I did what plenty of other people have done, and I took it to God. I told him that I needed to know he was there. I told him that I needed to know that he knew who I was. And I told him I was either going to be all in or all out. I felt very much alone, and I just couldn't do it by myself anymore. So again, here I was in sacrament meeting, really just going through the motions. I was there. I was going to go to Sunday school after that and young women's after that. And I was just there. But then we sang the sacrament hymn, and that day it was number 136. I know that my Redeemer lives. The end of the first verse is where it says, he lives to bless me in time of need, plucked a heartstring. It was like somebody snapped in my face to get my attention. And so I was kind of like, okay, you've got my attention. And then we get into the second verse, and the part that says, he lives to comfort me when faint, a little bit more than a pluck. He lives to hear my soul's complaint. I started to cry. I had definitely been complaining quite a bit. He lives to wipe away my tears, had me sobbing. And by the time we got to he lives to calm my troubled heart, I knew that my Father in heaven and my Savior were well aware of me. My exact circumstance was known. My lack of friends and support was known. I was known. And now all of a sudden, I knew that all of those nights that I had spent crying myself to sleep, I had not been crying by myself. I had not been crying alone. I had had somebody there to wipe away my tears and to silence all my fears. And that's when I decided and chose to be all in. There is another experience that I'll share, but I want to tee it up with another quote first. This one is from President David O. McKay in 1945. He said, "Music is truly the universal language, and when it is excellently expressed, how deeply it moves our souls." Notice that he does not speak specifically to religious music. He doesn't say, the music of the Tabernacle Choir is the universal language. He doesn't say church music or LDS hymns or other inspired hymns. He doesn't say that. He says music is truly the universal language. And I'm using that on purpose because I'm a firm believer that the Holy Ghost can use anything, all different kinds of music to reach us. I've shared previously that my husband and I struggled with infertility for over a decade. And so it should be no surprise that when I was finally pregnant past 8 weeks, I had had 3 miscarriages by this time, right? And so by the time I was pregnant past 8 weeks, everything freaked me out. Everything about the pregnancy freaked me out. The first time she moved, I was like, oh my goodness, what the heck is going on? Everything caused a mini panic attack. There was one day in particular that I was getting ready for work and something happened. And I don't remember exactly what it was that happened, but it was something, it was enough to get me to panic just a little bit. My husband was at work already. And I was getting ready and was just gonna head off to work. And by this point in my life, whenever I start to panic, well, by this point, when I was pregnant with my daughter, whenever I would start to panic, I would start to pray and just be like, okay, am I freaking out or are you trying to tell me something? And so I was doing my best to stay calm because that was, my doctor would always tell me, you should stay calm. Everything is fine. You don't need to worry about anything. Everything is fine. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's safe. It's fine. It didn't matter what anybody said. I would start to panic. I got myself ready for work and I got in the car. Before I turned on the car, before I started moving, I just quickly closed my eyes and said another just quick prayer, asking for comfort before I started to drive. Took a deep breath, turned on the car, and immediately the song that came on was a song called Fight Song by Rachel Platten. And instantly I felt that this song was my girl's song. She was a fighter and she was going to win. Everything was going to be okay, better than okay, because this girl was going to make it. I cried all the way to work, happy tears. I cried all the way to work, and that song has forever been her anthem. Still to this day, when that song comes on, we blast it and we sing at the top of our lungs. So it doesn't have to be a hymn. It doesn't have to be perfect music in someone else's opinion of perfect for it to speak to you. A couple more quotes about the power of music before I wrap this up. President George Albert Smith said, "I wonder sometimes if we realize the importance of music. I wonder if we know that the Lord himself is concerned about it. He has given us the information that the song of praise is a prayer unto him. It is our privilege, yea, our blessing, to sing, and our songs should be sung in righteousness." Then from then Elder Russell M. Nelson, so before he was President Nelson, he said, "It really matters what you listen to. Select music that will strengthen your spirit." And if I remember correctly, that was in the 90s when he said that. I'll make sure that it gets posted somewhere. And here's my favorite one today, and a little plug for your ward choir. Elder Graham W. Doxey in 1991 said, "When you sing the hymns, ponder the meaning of the words. Enjoy the spirit of the music. Sing with enthusiasm without regard to your tones. You will have a good feeling and your spirit will be enlivened." Don't worry about what you sound like. God doesn't care. And he's really the one we're singing for, isn't he? So it doesn't matter. And I mean, frankly, not that many people around you care either. There is a sister in our ward who is mostly deaf. She doesn't have any words. She does make sounds, but she doesn't have any words. And she sings. And she sings at the top of her lungs. She sings without shame. And I wish I had her courage. Anyway, thank you to my people for the suggestion to talk about music today. I appreciate it. I don't know where I would be without it, and I hope I never have to find out. Keep growing, keep learning, and keep singing. Until next time, thanks, guys.